Hello everyone and welcome to the show, welcome to the live stream. It's so nice to see you here. Let me know in the chat if you're there or what do you want to see today. We have a subject and it is animations with motion 1. So animations are one of my favorite things, maybe my topmost favorite thing when it comes to front-end engineering, web development, app development, because they can look so fun, they can really spark joy when you see them. And I usually get shut down completely by my designers or whoever is consulting me on the design side, because sometimes if something catches your eye too much, it's too tiring, it's too distracting. Maybe you just want to check your emails and you don't want to have like a nice flying mail animation coming in as a paper airplane or whatever. You see it once, it's cute. If you see it 1,000 times a day, maybe it's not as cute. But in any case, I love seeing them at least once, at least 10 times. I love writing code to implement fancy animations, and at least you need to know how to do them. You need to know how to do nice performant animations. And then if the design team decides no animations there, we'll only save it for like these instances, for these like aha moments or wherever, then you know how to implement them fast. And I will switch to the agenda view. So what we'll be going over today, we'll be using a library called Motion 1 and talk about it a little bit. Framer Motion as well, which I guess is from the same team. And then we'll have a classic, a little item fades in as it first appears on the screen. We'll be using it. We are using Motion 1 because it's framework agnostic and you can use it anywhere you're doing JavaScript, but we will be implementing in our SvelteKit app, and therefore we'll need to talk about why not use Svelte's own methods to do animations. And then we're gonna stagger the intro, the thing that we're gonna animate. And maybe if you have any suggestions, we can do any other fancy animations like SVG transitions or even more. So Motion 1 supposedly is a toolkit that's framework agnostic. If you can run JavaScript, you can use it to animate your stuff in a performant way. How performant is it? They say a lot. I haven't tried it firsthand. And a big part in these live streams is that in contrast to the videos where I distill the knowledge and I know that, you know, I've done the research, this is how you do it and this is why you do it, we're trying to explore how nice it is to code these solutions, to implement them, and then how performant it is. We're figuring it out on the fly. And I've been doing this for quite a while, and I call this like imposter syndrome cure, because you see somebody that usually has a quite high level position that's been doing it for a while, and sometimes they get stuck as well, as if they haven't done it a day before in their lives. I think that's very important to remember, and it may help you cure your imposter syndrome. Maybe another syndrome there, or Freudian slip or whatever, me highlighting that. But in any case, Motion 1 is, as far as I understand, from the same team that has created Framer Motion, which is doing quite a lot of things in the React space. They are doing some cutting-edge things, actually, where the premise is, as it's happened before, designers can design the apps and the flow of the apps and all the animations, and then they get automatically generated code that's actually pretty good. And they're doing things how, from the browser-based design tool, they will publish components that you bring in to your code and then use. But it's only for React, and we're not using React today, just for the fun of it. We will be using SvelteKit, and therefore we'll go to the same principles, I guess, but framework agnostic solution, Motion 1. So I do suggest playing around with Framer Motion and all of that. They have quite a lot of tutorials as well, Framer as a whole. And as always, none of these is like affiliated links, or nobody has told me to tell you about Motion 1 or Framer Motion or whatever, but I've heard good things about them, so I want to explore and see, are they actually any good? I think they may be. And that's about it for the intro. Hello in the chat as well. So let's get going. I will set up my timer and do all the fun things. can we do this? May be a short episode, depending on how our discussions go, because there are no grand schemes. It's not like we're gonna implement a whole new app or a whole flow, but who knows? So my timer is gonna be for 25 minutes of concentration, and slight looks in the chat, always, because the chat is very helpful and I want to engage with all of you. And do help me if I forget to share my screen and if I get stuck. But first of all, I guess we've kind of talked about this a little bit. So let's use it from their side. We will know with the quick start. They also do the thing where it all looks so easy and they have like this cool animation that I guess the suggestion is that all you need to write is this and then you're done. But this doesn't actually result to this. At least this is not like a video or like a animated GIF or whatever else. It is a real element and you can inspect it, but it's not just one circle that you scale up 1.3. They also have this nice shadow element that they make appear in response. I think that's how it works. So I'm quite skeptical whether just changing the scale here makes it transform like that. Well, hey, maybe. So in any case, we will be using this library, and all you need to do is the classic thing of installing it via npm. So let's go to our terminal. I copied it to actually use it, probably a good idea. And if you don't remember the app, I think at some point I may have like a demos section here. We're talking about TechieCat. We've built this on stream and I've made a few videos about it. It shows things like authentication, Supabase as your database and stuff like that. And it's the repo that I keep most up to date with SvelteKit changes as well. So this is what I've got running here. And the idea is to maybe not have these hovering nicely, but when I go to all of the ideas page, I will want these cards, and it may be more obvious that they are cards if you can actually see their shadow more intense when the contrast is a bit higher on light mode. But then again, you have to trust me. This is a card and I want it to animate and fade in. This is server rendered, so it's already on the screen. So there may be an argument there of why do you want to fade in? Usually you fade in things that appear after the first load of the page. But again, like designer may think different, a UX expert may think different of why you should do this. The point of it isn't really to bring in a better experience. The point is to figure out how we can do this using this library that claims to be performant, how the code is going to look, know how to do it, and then bring it forward to the design team to say, hey, we can do this. Where do you want us to put this animation, if anywhere? Hello, Marcel in the chat as well. So the easiest thing done, we have the library, and since we want to animate these things in, this page as a referencer is the ideas.svelte page, and its idea is an idea card. So we can either animate the list items here, this may be a good idea, or we can go inside the idea card and animate that instead, each and every one of these. We'll think about it, maybe it makes more sense to animate it here, but let's see the instructions. So we've installed this. We want to import animate, and then I guess you have to capture the element somehow. And we'll see how we can capture the element SvelteKit Svelte style afterwards. But let's see. Oh, you can select all of them. Interesting. Yeah, so Svelte style will be getting a reference to all the list items, I suppose. But first, let's see what this will do in our code. And I want to bring in animate from, it doesn't know from where, but it's going to be from motion. So let's animate all the list items. Interesting. So this, as we said, runs on the server. I wonder if it will kind of work if I transition here. Yeah, so interestingly, it also captures the list items in the header, which is expected because this, I guess, as we've shown, behind the scenes, I imagine, will run a document.querySelector all and capture everything that has this. So it will capture every list item, no matter where. So it may look like, because we're running it in the ideas page, or if we were to run it in like the ideas card, that it would scope it inside there, but actually it will not. So watch out for this. Like, this can have side effects everywhere in your app. So I'd suggest do capture it with classes or IDs or with Svelte references. So that might actually be the best idea. I wonder, can you combine both? So let's figure that out afterwards. Let's make it not crash, first of all. So we saw that if you hydrate the app, this gets run on the server, but then as you navigate around, it's client side, so it will actually not crash, making the background color go red. But if we go straight into the ideas page, then it will attempt to run this on the server, and therefore it will crash. And the way to run things only on the client, I believe, is using onMount. So the first time you get there, you can specify what you want to run. So if I had it in an onMount, then it's all nice and happy. Interestingly, I don't see an animation on the background of the list items. So this isn't what we actually want to do, but I don't see it animating in. So my question is, how do I assign that this should take half a minute? Is it because I don't set a background color before, so it doesn't know where to animate from? No, it was just this. Cool. So no default duration. No, it was actually animated. I was just dreaming that it just flashed then. All right, so we don't want to animate the background color. Maybe we want to animate the opacity and have it go all the way to 1 from 0. So how do we specify from 0? Let's inline style this. Let's inline style this SvelteKit style with a style tag and say the list item here, I want it to have opacity 0. And you can see it kind of animates in. The opacity does change. And this is not affected visibly, but in real life it will try to animate this as well. So Svelte will scope the styles that we add here. Even though we just say list item, it will do some Svelte magic to only target the list items that are inside this page, inside this component, while the motion 1 magic will not. So watch out for that. And we'll need to figure out how to target things inside that element. I guess. Yeah, so let's keep the background color to red to make it obvious we're still targeting the wrong thing. I can see just a little background color being red, but then being overridden by the idea card itself, which is kind of cute, I suppose. But still, so let's not target this. How do we do that? In Svelte land, get the element reference. We'd need to bind this somewhere. Binding. Here you go. I've opened this recently. So this should work. I imagine that this gets bound to the canvas by using the bind command. So maybe to capture every list item, what can we do? We can say export let card list container and say that it's nothing. And then bind this to the list container. I don't know why I uppercase this, I shouldn't have. And then it's happy. Can I type this better? Probably. But the question now is, can I do list container query selector? Is that going to be something? So if you don't have this, we'll figure out what this actually is afterwards. But I'm thinking that that's how they showed us that I can pass the things we've selected ourselves. We could do list items are actually, but not from the document, from the list container. And the list container, let's look at all the list items inside of it. Maybe all the direct children, direct list items to ensure we target these. And then the list items, we pass them here, animate those elements, and do the opacity and background trick. Doesn't quite work. It doesn't target these guys. Ah, no, sorry. It's erroring for unknown reasons. .list container, I'd say it would make it target the class. So this is not a valid selector. Yeah, I was trying to be too fancy there. So this works. We do not target the other list items. We target all list items that are inside the cards. So if you have list items inside list items, what do you do? I was thinking that this would make it target direct children of this. Can we look this up? Maybe. Direct children. Query selector, direct children. Scope. Is this a valid command? Looks like it. So I guess you need this. And another way to do it would have been if we made up like a class here, like if we gave its list item just class, animate this, or, you know, list item. And then we could pass it like this, because SvelteKit wouldn't transpile this to like a magic class that would be scoped. But then you have to remember to not use this same class name anywhere else. If you were to create a class here called list item, I think for scoping reasons, Svelte will also give this like a random hash. So, and you won't be able in the code to figure out what the actual class name of this is. So I'm not sure that would work. So some ways to do this, I'd say adding a class is perfectly acceptable. Maybe you can try to give it like a more unique name than a list item. But I think this Svelte reference combo, where we have the list container, we bind the list container to the unordered list and then target things in its scope, I think that's good enough. I think that's safe enough to only target the things that we want. Let me know what you think, and let's use that again. So that's quite handy, and we can remove the background color, and we want them to fly in, I suppose. That's always fun. So I wonder if they have like multiple transform selectors. Usually you'd achieve this effect by having it transform in like -x something, but they may have something handier, which may be this. So individual transforms, it says here. So this seems like the thing that we want. I wonder if they have like a bigger section on transforms. What are you actually able to do there? And maybe here. Is it anything you can pass in a transform? NVM CSS transform. I wonder if you can pass any of these, like matrix. I guess not, because X is translate X, and they allow us to that. So I don't really know. Maybe the TypeScript types would help us, but it does look like to make it slide up, we'll probably need to pass a Y parameter there. Let's see. Y -10. Let's do -100 and see how that goes. All right, so it will slide up. How can I make it start from a different position? I guess then I'd have to say here, transform, translate Y 100, and then use the same value here, or make it go to 0 afterwards. Not quite. I wonder if they animate a different thing. Do they use like translate 3D or something? Or am I doing it wrong? Right. Why is the Y not animating? That's a bit creepy. Is it because they're using translate 3D? Is that like a real thing? Probably not. Yeah, I thought so before the chat said this. Federico, hello. Mr. Duration. I thought before that was it, but it seems it has a default duration. Maybe not. Right, let's make it not break. This was fine enough. And let's make it last like a second. That's not the object there. Is it here? Interesting. Adrian asks that you see me using GitHub CoPilot. Definitely, I do use it in my own projects as well. They do help on the videos most because usually I prepare a research, so it kind of knows what I've typed before and I autocomplete faster. But I think in real life, it's definitely helpful. You're gonna need to pay for it starting, I think, this month. It's probably worth it. I'm not sure. If you can get your company to expense it for you, it's definitely worth it. And I support this type of projects. If I could autocomplete, like create this app, this machine will create this app for me, I would do it for sure. All right, so duration here makes it break. Let's look at the docs instead of me trying to half remember what was happening before. Is it just too long? Right, so I guess I made it appear in like the 1000 seconds, which would have been too slow. But it does seem like duration is not the problem because it's still not animating the Y from whatever it was before. I wonder if there is an option to do like from, like start from a different value. because we've seen, have we seen this working? Yeah, so if you do minus 100, it's happy. So what's its problem if I try to do this? Clearly they're using something different. They're targeting a different attribute. Motion translate Y, it says here. So is it like a specificity word type of thing? Without motion messing with this, can I make these appear further down? The answer is yes. With motion, they just already appear from the right place. It's kind of weird. I guess the styling that they put overrides what is there already. So there must be a way to say, just do this, start from somewhere else. Keyframes seems like the thing to do. So you can specify from to. So I think that's going to be the way to do it. So instead of adding various styles here, let's see if that's going to work. I want the opacity to go from 0 to 1. And this from 100 to 0. All right. I was afraid that this would make it like ping pong around and keep playing the animation, but this looks like it's only gonna do it once, and it's only gonna look fine and dandy. And what's the default? Whoa, that's not chill enough for me. Maybe 1 second is good for a duration. Right. Good enough? So yeah, apparently pass an array and you get to tell it the keyframes, the stops of the animation. You don't need to style things separately. Pretty neat, I would say. So we're flying past, just a couple minutes more. Let's see what we've got here. We have these fade in. I don't think we'd want to do anything further in the animation. I think that's good enough. The thing we'll do later is to try to stagger them, which would mean that if you have like a million ideas here, then the last one would take like a million seconds to appear, which may be too much, but we'll see. Again, we could mess actually with the stuff that they have here, like the in-view gestures, where you'll only animate something if it makes it on screen, which is quite cool, actually. That's one of the things that I really liked when I first saw this library. There are many things that you only want to trigger when they get into view. I think Framer themselves and Framer Motion and all of that, like most of the things that they design are all about that you scroll your marketing page and you get to a section, and then that section flies in, as it happens in the video here. And that's a really cool effect. To me, not a designer, this looks amazing. I'd say like regular people, when they see at least a marketing site appear like this, they think it's like super professional, and it does look super professional. They definitely overuse. They use that effect quite a lot. So it makes sense that this library has it as well. So I'd be excited to give that a go. It would be great to use in conjunction with pagination, for example. So at some point in the app, I imagine we'll have like millions of ideas, as I said before. So we wouldn't want to bring all of them would be bringing like maybe 50 at a time or maybe 10 at a time. And then as you scroll down or you pass a threshold, then you bring in the rest. And then maybe you get like a nice animation to do all of that. So you slide somewhere, you make it to here. This is all the first fetched ideas, but then you see like maybe a little spinner and the rest of the ideas, the next page flies in. That'd be neat. All right. First noodle, focus noodle done. So I'll switch for just a moment to the face view and focus on the chat a bit more. Julian, thank you if you're watching the playback afterwards. And as I said, we'll talk about Svelte's own motion methods. They have animation methods themselves, Svelte has. They can do quite a few cool things. And then we'll keep using Motion 1 and not the native Svelte methods to stagger the animations and possibly explore the when this element is in view, we'll do something cool. Triggering the animation on hover is something Spiky asks. That's a good question. I'd imagine that I'd target elements that have like the hover pseudo selector, but let's look at the docs. Switch back. So they don't seem to have like the the fun select feature where you press like Command K or whatever and a command palette shows up and you can search everything. But from the quick look, it doesn't look like they have an example like this. Hover. My guess would be that with only target elements that are hovered, and then it would play. Let's see. So this shouldn't play now because nothing is hovered. Would it actually play when I hover? Probably not. So that's a great question. Trigger animation on hover. You could add a class that only appears when you hover. Maybe not. There must be a way. There must be a way. So the maybe easy way would be that then, so the Svelte way to do this. Let's have a quick look. You have the list items, and then here it's where you add the pseudo selector to say, oh, on hover, I want the opacity to go to 1, and I want the opacity to start at 0. And if I don't animate them at all, then you can see that they appear when it's hovered. And then you can add like a transitions thing there. You can do it with Tailwind as well, with like the hover pseudo selectors. But that's not what you're asking, Spiky. You're asking, how do I do it with the Motion 1 library? And the answer clearly is, I don't know. How do I only do it when something gets hovered? I feel like that's like the #1 feature. I only want to do this when it's hovered. Because they have this like gesture thing. Ooh. Federico suggests, could you use on hover and pass the animation function there? But that's, yeah, I promised that I was going to talk about Svelte methods as well. And Svelte does have its own animation methods here. So in the elements, you can pass in an animate and then one of the many animations and easings that Svelte has itself. And I'm imagining, Federico, that you're saying we can also add things like on event handlers in the components and say, all right, on hover, then you pass the animation method there. We'll try it. Sounds like a decent idea. But yeah, for the built-in animations of Svelte, you can do quite a lot of cool things. The example they have in their interactive tutorial, which is quite cool, is this. And you can see how the elements go from one stack to the other. It looks nice. Still, like, if a framework had an easy drag and drop solution, reordering solution, I think that would make it even more pleasant for me. But hey. So I'm not using this, the Svelte native methods, because I am excited to use things like the in-view stuff. And I think because Framer is quite popular, I'd imagine that they will have like a built-in way to export Motion 1 functions. So designers would be able to get in this app, create their transitions and all of these fancy websites, and then tell you, all right, this is what I want to build. You click a button to like publish copy Motion 1 code, and then you get it copied there. Federico's ideas, I believe, is we can call the animate method when something gets hovered. I think that's the case. So let's try it. Let's confirm we haven't broken anything. We're at this. I think it's more interesting to explore this on hover idea. So let's focus noodle and get back to proper coding. Let's do it. Let's do it. So animate. Instead of running this on mount, we're saying that Svelte has handlers. Maybe TypeScript will complete this. On hover. On mouse enter. I've also added this screencast mode that will show some of my keystrokes. Let me know if that is helpful for you or if it's annoying or what it is. It will add a little circle where I click as well. I think it's nice to try out. So what do we want to do on mouse enter? Well, I would want, what does this take? It demands this takes the event. So if I tell it animate the event current target, not quite. Oh, yeah. Then it will animate it. So let's forget this ever happened. And if I hover, yeah, so it will trigger it on hover. And then I guess it's on me to do a nicer animation than have it disappear on hover. And maybe use a better handler than the mouse enter. What do we have here? How often will this run? Is there an on-focus? Nope. There is an on-focus. So if I tap into it, it will do it. Who knows? But yeah, the general idea it would be use one of the on methods to attach an event listener and run your animate method to only animate the current target of your thing. Hopefully that makes sense. This isn't what we want to do now. Could I add it somewhere? Maybe on the star, like when you hover the star, you do something. I do prefer. Yeah, the animation that I try to do, Federico is saying that the issue with mouse enter is that you need the element visible. Yeah, it's definitely not the best animation to try to do something on hover. Maybe if we have the time, we can try to do something like on the little star. When you hover on the star, it sparks or something like that. it's already we're using a CSS animation. If I were logged in, it would be able to see it where it boosts. It shows as you've voted when you favor it. But that's by the by. We could try it. There are also SVG animations that both Svelte and Motion promote quite a lot in their examples. They have like this SVG animation. They have a drawing SVG animation with also Svelte out of the box, so will do quite nice. It will draw all the strokes that you have in this very pleasing way. What else do they have here? One SVG transition to the other. That's something to do. Anything else cool? Like progress bar here. They have lots of things. You can look at their examples and docs on your own time as well. Usually I look at blog posts, I look at sites like Dribble, and it's there that I find like some cool animations. Like, how can I do this? Lots of the time is you go to like After Effects or some other software and you capture the video and then you embed it. But a lot of the time it is things that you can actually do with a library like Motion 1. So you may find something nice there. Let me know what are your design inspirations. SVG ones I think have been my favorite, when people make a SVG with carefully calculated, cleverly positioned strokes and paths that start appearing or disappearing. They change some properties, like the hamburger menu animation that I've made a video about. I love that sort of thing. Those are my favorite animations and kind of easy to do and also framework agnostic. But anyway, it's by the by. Now we want to stagger this. And it may be easy because we've done like most of the stuff already. Like, is it really going to be that easy? Apparently, Motion also provides a stagger method. And then you can pass the delay option here and say that I want to stagger it by like 0.1 seconds. Wow. All right. So yeah, that's definitely something to be mindful on. Like, how much do you want to stagger these things? How many items you have there, because you can scroll all the way down and then it's not going to be done yet. Also kind of interesting that the last item does take space to start with at the beginning of this animation. And only when it's back in place, it will not have like this crazy white space in the end. Interesting. But yeah, 0.1 second, I think it's nice. Staggered animations were super hard to do back in the day. So I think every time I see it on our website, I'm like, wow, this is cool. I think people do react very positively to something like this. And let's see again. Yeah, so it does start further below because of what we've done with the positioning of this. So I wonder if I give it like a relative positioning. This is not React. Yeah, and I do want it to animate in, but I also don't want it to do that little buffer at the end. But hey, it's fine. I wonder how it would mess up with absolute positioning. It would mess up. Well, none at all. Yeah, this also looks quite fancy, but not quite what we're looking for. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. The optimization for the future. What else can we find out? Let's look at the agenda for the day. We talked about this. We staggered animations. I think on the video description I've added like more samples there. But let's do the in-view thing. So can we make like the star do something when it gets in view to like force you to look at it? maybe. So that's like an event listener that it's gonna add on everything, which is quite handy. I thought this would be only animation specific, but I guess it attaches an intersection observer or something, and it figures out when an element is on screen, which does mean that you can use it for things like loading the rest of the page or the next page eagerly, so long as you reach a point in the end. So let's actually pretend we have a load more button. We'll probably not commit this, but you start here. This is not visible. In the end, it is going to be visible. And we pretend, like, can we make it like a big button? Guess we can, but then how are we going to capture it? We'll see. So if we did have multiple pages in this app, because we were paginating the ideas like every 10 or something, every 5, then a common way to do the pagination would be to have a button here you can click and then it loads more. But if you wanted to have better UX, presumably, maybe the moment this goes on screen, then it gets auto-clicked, for example, and you actually load the rest of the page, and then the rest of the ideas come in. Or you can have an invisible element even that is like on the third to last is a common element on the page. And then when you reach that threshold, when you are on the third to last element, then you fetch the rest of the data. But that's, I guess, kind of by the by. We don't really want to do all of this. All we want is to check whether this element is in view. So can you pass the element there? You can. Can we do the same trick that we did with this? So can we bind this to an element? I didn't need to export this. So I want this to be CoPilot for the win. Can I pass this here? Yeah, I'm afraid the answer is going to be no, because then I'd need to like pass this down. I'd need to make this component more complex, which is a bit like too much for this episode. So let's just make this a regular button. It doesn't look great, but hey, let's at least make it a bit bigger. Where did I add the class? All right, so we want something to happen when this is in view. Let's see. Did I bind this? Yes. All right, so how do they suggest to do this? When I assume that you'd also want to run this when you're on the browser. So on mount, in view, a lot more button. And in view, we bring in from motion as well. And I guess we can even animate this. Color. Yeah, let's make the duration longer. So cool. This should be white all the time, but the moment it enters the viewport, I'll try to wait a little while. That's definitely more than a second. Then you go down, then it triggers the animation. I wonder if you can pass like a threshold actually of when the animation starts. So maybe it will start even when it's not really in the viewport. I'm not sure. And you can also return a method when it's out of the viewport. What do you want to do? Interesting. Leave info, who knows what this will do. Can you revert the animation? Who knows? But let's try that as well. So it seems like you can return a method to run when this leaves the viewport. Then you can make the color whatever. You can trigger another animation, which doesn't make sense because you won't see it since it's out of the viewport. But then you can transition again. So maybe you can give it like a duration 0, and all you'll have done is revert the animation, like instantly reverse the animation, so you can see it again. If we go with the load more example, then you would be able to use this to abort the request for more ideas, which I don't know if you'd want to bother. I'd say that it's nice. You've triggered this, then they go back, and then there is more elements there. I think that would be quite neat. I'd imagine that all of these do work with CSS variables. So in app CSS, we have defined quite a lot of things. So let's pick one of those. Where am I using the brand hue? Do I not have like a plain old, this is the brand color? Maybe I do. Maybe I don't. Ah, yeah, of course, because these colors are tailwind colors. I see. So let's make it muted, I guess. Which is kind of boring, but it will prove that we can actually use CSS variables here. Custom properties. Is that gray? Yes, maybe. Like it's too close to call. Do I call it base color? Yeah. My face is probably way in there as well, so even harder to see. But hey, maybe on light mode. Does it go muted? I think so. Another way to see it a bit more easily would be just temporarily, let's say that the base color is like red. So does that work? Yeah, so you can see it off screen, it's red. So you can use CSS vars, which makes sense because it's just applying some CSS, I suppose, in there. Yeah, so, and I guess every time it enters, it does run that method, which we can imagine is the one that is requesting some things, run some metrics, who knows what you want to run, run some analytics, like say, they've seen this element. I think that's quite helpful. That's low-key a very helpful method to have in your app without needing to know too much about intersection observers and that sort of thing. It is easier to write your own nowadays, but why write your own when you can use a popular library with presumably loads of tests and loads of support and usage, which would mean that people would be complaining about things not working. Right. I think that's it. Anything else here? Like you can hijack the scrolls icon as well using this library, but this is probably the extent of the experiments that I would like to run today. Spring to make the animations bouncier, and a spring like that. I guess we could make the cards float up and back in. That'd be fun. There are some browser tools here, but I think I'll be using this library more and then come back to say, this is the performance, this is how I use it, this is how I actually use the developer tools to tweak the animations, make them all nice. I do have the extension here, actually. So I guess it detects all the animations that play. That's quite neat. That's neat to show. It detects the animations that are playing, and it knows that it's captured quite a few list items, knows all of them, and it knows when their animations start, and it knows what gets animated. So that's pretty cool. It knows the reasons as well. Nice. DevTools approved. I would wonder, does this capture like all the animations that have happened? I'd assume so. It knows already the animations that are going to happen. Does it read the code? Maybe. Oof, upgrade to Pro. Nobody likes that. Is that a subscription service? Don't really know. But yeah, I'd say that this has been a quick one today. Hope you liked it. I have already set up the live stream as a placeholder slot for next Friday, starting at the same time. There may be bonus streams in between, but not this time. Because on the weekend I'll probably be recording for the next long form video. It's either going to be Stripe subscriptions or Stripe payments or Playwright. Let me know if you'd prefer either. But I think I've done enough research and writing to actually record. That doesn't mean that the video is going to be out anytime soon, but it will mean that I'll be starting to edit it next week. So live stream as usual on Friday, placeholder content. Let me know what you'd like to see. Yeah, I used to not upload the next stream or not put it in the feed until I know that it's going to be Motion 1 or it's going to be Playwright or it's going to be anything. But some people have asked to get a heads up on when the live streams are going to be. So that's my solution, I suppose. The slot is there, it's just a placeholder, and leave a comment anywhere, I'll see it and then say, enough people are saying this, or this is like very topical or very interesting to me, so this is gonna be it. I'm gonna commit, this is gonna be the subject for the stream. I'll update the thumbnails and the descriptions and all of that, and see you Friday to actually do it. And thank you, Adrian, for saying that you enjoyed today. I think it was fun. As I said, I love animations. I love tools that make animations easier as well. And the easier they are, the more the designers need to restrain me to not put them everywhere as well. Thank you, Spikey, too. I think I'll give like just a couple minutes, maybe 1 minute, a couple sips more time for somebody to put up something to discuss. I'm tempted to start talking about the games I've been playing recently. Maybe at some point I'll know to do like a tier list of the games I'm recently playing or I've played in the year to talk in the end, some like coffee chat subject. The last ones have been like super long RPGs or RPG style games. So maybe I've mentioned Pathfinder, Wrath of the Ratius, which Ratius, and the people that think are right. I think that's hundreds of hours there. I've been playing Persona 5, which is kind of older game that's also, I think, in the hundreds of hours. And apparently today, Xenoblade or Xenoblade Chronicles is coming out, Xenoblade 3. That series, I haven't played it in a long time, but I think that's super long as well. New breaking proposed SvelteKit changes, Spiky asks. I'll have to look at them again. So far, I've only thought that every time I make a video, then a breaking change will happen in response, like the layouts video or the auth video, or many things change every time I do a big video on SvelteKit. So I haven't seen them. The last ones I knew were in response to the V3 change, which were understandable. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Ritz and the others have come up with next time. I've been listening to a podcast today talking about very often the great educators or speakers are not great scientists themselves. And I was thinking, I can empathize with that. Maybe I can talk about SvelteKit better than I can contribute to SvelteKit in those discussions as well. I can consume SvelteKit better than I can actually drive the decisions forward. So maybe that's true. But I will be trying to get a bit more involved in those discussions for sure. So short answer to your question, Spiky, my thoughts on the breaking changes. I haven't seen them this time, but every breaking change has been for the better, even if it takes a lot of code to actually do it. So I'd imagine they're really good. Can't wait to read about them. Let me know what you think. And do look at the comments. I think we may have broken 1,500 subscribers, which is amazing. I'm so happy about this. It's, I think, on the same day that MrBeast broke the 100 million subscribers number, but I can't believe he's happier about his milestone than I am. It's really nice to see people liking my content. So I definitely appreciate it, and I thank you all. So, because I don't have 100 million subscribers, I do have the time to read and address comments as well. So let me know. All right, I'll try to have a playlist prepared as well for the next stream. I do like a little bit of background music as well, but I want to be certain that I won't get like copyright stricken, just because I don't want like random ads in the videos. Podcast recommendations. So the one I mentioned today, Adrian asks about podcast recommendations. The one I was listening to today is called the Unmade podcast, which is two best buds from Australia talk about life in general, and they're hilarious. You get to like them quite a lot. It's definitely like in the two dudes talking space, but it's quite fun. The Design Life podcast is one that I've been enjoying quite a lot. We've talked about design quite a lot today. Charlie also has an amazing YouTube channel where she often does a co-working live stream as well. And it's very nice to see a designer's perspective on many, many things. And especially since their experiences are a bit different, it's they form a dynamic duo, I'd say. So Design Life podcast, it will help you in your engineering career as well, or tech career as well, and it's very, very enjoyable. And those are the ones from the top of my head. I do listen to like Critical Role and stuff like that, super nerdy Dungeons and Dragons podcasts every once in a while. Sometimes just to help me sleep on an airplane or something. But I do like those as well. Gaming, game design, like game critics, that sort of thing. Not many engineering podcasts. I do listen to the Svelte. Is it Svelte Radio podcast? I think so. I do listen to that one as well. But I think the one I listen to the most is the Design Life podcast, which is engineering adjacent, not specifically engineering. All right, great question and great questions and great audience today in the chat. Had a lovely time with you. Have a lovely, lovely afternoon. Lex Friedman's podcast. I haven't. I'll copy this and paste it immediately and check it out. Once again, thank you all. Enjoy your Fridays, enjoy your lives. Let me know what you want me to cover next. See ya.